One of the most important organs of the human body is the heart. The heart is the organ that pushes the blood throughout the body and controls how the blood flow moves throughout. Today we are going to look at the four main parts of the heart, the valves that separate the four main sections of the heart, and how the blood flows throughout the heart and where it is deoxygenated and where it's oxygenated at. To begin with, we're going to look at the four main parts of the heart. First, we want to look at the right atrium, the right ventricle, the left atrium, and the left ventricle. These four sections, as on this diagram, show you where these are at. The left ventricle and the right ventricle are on the bottom. The right atrium and the left atrium are on the top. Going to the next diagram, we will be able to see where these valves are that split the four main parts of the heart. The valves are going to be the tricuspid, which separates the right atrium from the right ventricle. Then there's the pulmonary valve, which separates the right ventricle from the pulmonary artery. And then we have the mitral valve, which separates the left atrium from the left ventricle. And then the aortic valve, which separates the left ventricle from the aorta. Now that we know the four main parts of the heart and the four valves that separate the four main parts of the heart, we can look at how the blood flows throughout the body. First, we're going to begin with where the blood flows through to the body. We'll look at this chart here in a second, but we will see that the blood flows from the body into the heart through the superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava. They will flow into the right atrium and then be pushed down into the right ventricle by passing through the tricuspid valve. After it gets pushed out of the right ventricle, it's going to be pushed out through the pulmonary valve into the pulmonary artery. And then the blood, after being pushed into the pulmonary artery, is going to be led to the lungs. In the lungs, the blood will be oxygenated and then sent back to the heart. Once the blood is sent back to the heart, it's going to enter in the left atrium. After it enters in the left atrium, it is going to go down into the left ventricle, passing through the mitral valve. After it goes into the left ventricle, it's then going to be pushed out into the aorta artery, being pushed through the aortic valve, and then once it gets to the aortic valve, the aorta artery, it is going to be pushed out into the body. From the body, it's going to go either to your upper body up to your brain, and then it's going to go down to your lower body, which is going to go out to your arms, your torso, and your legs. And then now we're going to look at the chart just so we can double check how it gets sent through. You can see the blood is coming through up through the inferior vena cava, down from the superior vena cava, into the right atrium, through the tricuspid valve, down through the right ventricle, and then it's going to come up through the pulmonary valve, out to the pulmonary artery, where it's going to go either to the right lung or the left lung. And then from the lungs, it's going to go back through the pulmonary veins, which comes from either side, the right or the left. And then once it goes through those veins, it's going to come in through the left atrium, which is just up there, and it's going to come down through the mitral valve into the left ventricle right here. And then after it goes through that left ventricle, it's going to be pushed back up through the aorta right here. And the aorta is where it's going to be pushed out through the body. We'll just get a zoomed in picture. There we go. So now we can see how the blood is flown through the heart and how it gets out to the body through the organs. Because without blood into the organs cannot function and we wouldn't be able to survive. So now that we have looked at the four main parts of the heart and looked at the valves that separate the four main parts of the heart, we then looked at how the blood flowed through the body. And we also looked at how the oxygenated blood, once the blood was sent to the lungs and back, that is when the blood was oxygenated. And so now that we've covered these three main points, we now know how important the heart is